I'm going to roll a die as I do. D4. I got a 2. Darren, what happened last Wednesday? This was the adventure where you all had went into the woods, or the wilderness.
Okay, this is when we had avoided a troop of warriors that we'd followed. Is this the one where we'd helped out the ferry and defeated the troop of marauders?
I think you did evade a group of brigands that passed by, and then you continued traveling south, and there were a bunch of refugees you encountered, one of which admitted to being a criminal, and you pressed him into service. And then, so he's been guiding you down to a fort, a wood fort, far to the south. It's been now over a week of traveling in the wilderness. And you've had a gang of mercenaries, of which several have died. Two were sent back to escort several refugees.
Okay, yeah, that's right. And were they weren't dwarves, were they? No.
No, dwarves, only humans in this game.
Right.
So far, anyways.
And we sent 2 of our mercenaries back with them, and then we pressed forward. And I thought we actually entered the dungeon.
That was the other group. That would happen in the future.
Right.
Yeah, and so this one, so you all were traveling in the wilderness, and it has been deadly. Giant spiders have attacked and grabbed some of your mercenaries and slain them. You've encountered multiple groups of refugees. You have traveling with you Euelis, who is a holy man who led a pilgrimage to Zelkor's Ferry. I have him currently as a hireling for Father Bloombad, who I believe convinced him to come along on the journey. And then Krogon, since you're here, sadly, Malar perished. Now, you know what's interesting? That would be Malar perishing in the future. So you actually have Malar. So you have 2 level 2 thieves as hirelings.
Wait, wasn't it the other guy who died and Malar lived? It was the 3rd level thief that Jay hired, I thought.
I have scratched out. Oh yeah, that's right, Gormal. So Malar and Rotacon actually are alive either way. Thanks. For some reason, I scratched his name out here.
Do you have the last map? That would jog a lot of memory. I was fine when you see the last.
Sure.
We had that map. Remember where that 3rd level thief died? Okay, it's all coming back now.
Yeah, but that was not this adventure. That is a different adventure in the future.
Okay.
So
let me pull up the hand-drawn map that Ross made, because that's kind of close to, I think, possibly close to where we are, based on the name of the river and the description someone gave us.
Yeah, we ended the adventure with maybe like a druid woman or a witch woman came up to me at camp, and there was howls of wolves. Yeah, leave or die.
Leave or die.
That's right. Yeah, you have 2 choices, leave now or die is what I have.
Remember.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. If no one's been mapping, is you've been following the lead of a criminal named Farrar. And so I don't think, and somewhat on purpose, I kind of switch back and forth between the player facing overland map and Theater of the Mind map, because and I try to mix them up a little bit, because getting lost is a real possibility. It just so happens right now you've been following a person through the woods, so yeah. All right. Anyways, yeah, that's right. The last thing that happened is Father Bloombad was on watch, I believe. And it's the middle of the night. I think it was. You were in the middle watch, right?
I thought it was first watch.
First watch. Okay, well, night has fallen.
I just watched it too.
And A woman stands on a hillside. You heard also the sounds, a chorus of howls, dozens of them, that you can make out on the hillside. Canines, massive ones, stand at the hem of her robes. And she approaches, silhouetted on the hillside, and simply says, "Leave or die."
There's no opportunity for parley, madam.
I will offer it 2 more times. Leave now or die. But I will answer your question. No, not with me.
Well, may the light shine on you anyways. I will awaken my companions.
Alright, so you awaken everybody up. Alright, so everybody's awake.
What's going on, Zoombad?
We have a wolf woman telling us we need to leave or die.
Leave where?
Leave this place, I suppose. We
Which-
asked her, she said she would only tell us 3 times, and she's already told me twice. So one more time, and I guess she kills us.
Can you ask her what way her lands extend so we know which way to leave?
I will when everybody has their armor on.
Fair enough.
I sleep in my armor.
I'll start to have the mercs help decamping as quickly as we can. Just get everything in bags. We're probably going to need a nap once we get out of wherever it is we're leaving anyway.
And once it looks like everybody's prepared, I will say, Adam, in what directions and areas does your land extend to?
She points behind you. And actually, let me just make sure. She says, no, I'm wrong. Nice. She points to the side of her, and she says, "You've trespassed in my forests. You cannot pass this way again. If I find you, you will perish." And I'll actually move you. Well, no, you wouldn't see this, but I'll describe it. Okay. So, you know that you have been traveling along the edge of a wood, right? And you've avoided going into the woods. You've been following a river. And this river is approaching a fork miles ahead that you can see off in the distance. You've been following along its riverfront. And the woods have given way, and ahead of you, and this is kind of where she's standing on a hillside, there's the series of hills that are not heavily wooded. And she's pointing off into those hills, which is it was the direction you were going. So she's saying that the way that you've come from are her woods.
Oh.
So she's in charge of the Forest of Hope, apparently.
I don't know if I mentioned it, but she claims 20 miles around. So it's the woods in this area. It's been about 3 days of journeying worth of land that you've crossed in the forest once you first saw this lakeland. Or I'm sorry, river, this other river.
Heretic, could we possibly buy passage? A token?
I don't know. Krogan, you might be better off talking to her if she's a follower of the old ways or something like that. I don't speak her language. I doubt Bloombad does either.
Can I keenly look at her and see if I have association with any of myth, or if I get some grasp of, I'm thinking of shape-shifting and cult things and sorcery.
Oh yeah.
And I nudged Father and go, "What do you think? Do you think she's going to turn into something? There are rumors among our people of serpent women."
She's a wolf witch, I assume. She refused to parley and said that if we attempt to converse with her again, that she would kill us.
Everybody, make sure you have your missile weapons ready. What do you think?
Look, She's hardly trying to shake us down. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
This hillside that she's on have all these howls, dozens of them. You can actually begin to see the silhouettes of dozens upon dozens of dark silhouettes with glowing eyes in the dark that start to surround her on either side on the hillside.
I hate wolves.
She says, "Mortal kind, you do not understand what you deal with here in these woods. The doors that lead to many places. I guard these woods, and that is not a thing of discussion or parley, or any of your temporal matters. Therefore, this is my third and final warning to you. There's no discussion of this." And she points past her into the hills. "Leave now, or die. Query me again, and you'll have no chance to live."
Well, you heard the lady. Kogan kind of looks
You're
around,
muted,
all the
Mike.
eyes. I bow
Yeah.
to her.
I tighten my backpack straps and tip my hat and say, "Have a good night," and start moving out.
There's okay. Let me find. Here we go. This is what I need.
My lady, do you have a name?
Oh shit.
Oh, you want to talk to her again? She will
Only once
attack
we're walking. Only once we're walking.
with dozens of wolves. I'll leave that up to the group. If you want to talk to her again.
That's up to
But you
Krogan
can.
if he wants to ask her
Yeah.
name.
Damn.
That seems like a reasonable question.
Yeah, I'll ask her name. A last
Once
boon.
we're walking.
Mistress. We are leaving. We honor your demand. But do you have a name we can honor? I am Krogan of the Northern Wastes. And he introduced my party.
You ask a question, and she says something. Does anyone have any strange languages?
Ooh.
No.
No? Okay. She says something in a language that you don't understand. It echoes in the moonlit night. And then all of a sudden, all of the wolves howl in unison and then rush towards you in a bloodlust.
Oh, she's very picky.
Maybe this one.
All right. Give me 1 second here. Ross. Now, we're all mounted or moving at light foot. If we just run, how do you see that playing out?
I think, so you've had this situation happen to you once before. The problem is that wolves are very, very fast. So unless you can try to ford the river nearby, which I think is, let me just see how far away it is.
I thought we were already across the river. Is this north of the river?
You haven't crossed a river yet.
And we're
Okay.
headed for the fort.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you've been
Okay.
staying near
I
the
misunderstood.
waterfront, so that's good news. So if you made it into the water and maybe made it across, maybe you could swim and they wouldn't, you know. I think the thing that happens when wolves attack is the slow people don't survive. That's usually what happens. But I'll do all the math this time. That's what happened last time, is basically like you knew that 2 of your people were slower and you're like, we just run. And like 2 people didn't make it and everybody else did a forced march through the night to Zelkor's Ferry. There are dozens of these things. You have 5 mercenaries a level 4 cleric. Actually, he can cast light, which I use the BX version of. So that is one option, is you could try to make it across the muddy banks and have him cast light. I will basically have a chance. I'll roll for a chance that they might endanger him. He offers to do that. Euelis is like, flee, run.
Howard.
Well, he's got a.
Oh, he's not
got
fleeing.
his
He's
stuff
still
on
in
a
you two.
horse. He's not mounted. He chose not to be.
It's only 2 or 3 attacks each from each wolf. Can we do
Yeah,
this?
I wouldn't want to fight them. No, I don't want to. I don't want to fight them for someone who wasn't trying to shake us down to begin with. That sounds like the kind of person we don't actually need as an enemy.
And this pagan maiden is obviously an agent of chaos.
Is she? I think she's obviously an agent of neutrality. If she were an agent of chaos, she'd have tried to kill us on sight. We got 2 clerics with us.
All right. I believe the group caller. Am I double dipping Father Bloombad? Were you the group caller last week?
No, Krogon was.
Okay, yeah, I think I have you as the caller this week. So, what is the consensus of the group?
I don't know. I mean, if we flee, we're gonna lose all our and that are walking.
I'll say that you won't. So to condense all of this down, Euelis is offering to try to do something. He's basically saying, I'll take care of this, flee. It looks like Euelis would perish. To you, I think to your character, it would appear that way.
So, Ross, just to ask, like, we don't have exact numbers, it's overwhelming numbers. Like, we can't stand and fight.
There are dozens of these things.
Right, but there's also presumably some sort of person who can subjugate a few dozen wolves. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I suspect that not having the drop on her means that this would be a fight we don't win, even if we kill all the wolves.
You're for fleeing. Krogon, you're for fighting, right, or no?
Krogon's wants to survive, but I will stand and fight.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like baiting her 2 attacks.
I
guess we flee then.
So yeah, just a quick moment. This is probably something we'd have had a chance to chat about while we were camping. I don't know what we're gonna find when we arrive at this wood fort. If we arrive at this wood fort, when we went off at the start, we were kind of assuming that it would be abandoned because we heard that there was a really nasty attack. But we've kind of heard things that might contradict that, and also that might make it sound like this is a place we could find an ally. My thought is that probably Euelis is our most valuable chess piece if there's going to be a fight there. We want to keep him alive.
I thought the ford was like a day away. We weren't able to ford the river here.
Oh yeah, no.
To a certain point.
The place that Ferrar is saying that you should ford the river, you have not reached. So this is actually a different. This is like a tributary. It's a different portion that you've been traveling away from Zelkor's Ferry, which you can reliably assume is south within 180 degrees, right? And as you've been going, this tributary runs the way you've been going, which is not, he's saying that's not what you want to ford.
So we have to run. Like, we don't have a choice, right? We'll all be wiped out if we don't run.
You could fight. I don't know how you would. You might surprise me and come up. I mean, but it is an overwhelming force. That is apparent to your characters.
So Krogon's a fool, but he's not that much of a fool. He'll jump in the river.
I don't think Krogon's a fool. He's just really, really brave.
All right.
Yeah. Well.
What's this? Watch stream. Oh, the map. Right.
This
Thank
is
you.
the map. Yeah.
Let's see.
Let's call this the Forest of Nope. That's got
The
better.
Forest of Nope.
Forest of
Kellic.
Hope, Forest of Nope.
No.
So, if I'm understanding this right, if we flee, we have to sacrifice this 4th level cleric. Is kind of the.
If we flee and let him make his sacrificial Gandalf moment, which I say we just tell him, nah, you're coming with us. Let someone else be the person to sacrifice themselves. You need to live. You got work to do.
If that's possible, yeah, it'll be the way to go.
I'm gonna just look up
He takes a crucial moment to refuse, and he says, "No, trust me, flee now." But if you drag him off, he'll go.
You've greater mercy to do further south, Father. No dying here.
All right. So does everyone flees then?
Yep.
I think this is a simple matter. A couple of things happen. You hear the screams of agony of several of your allies as they're torn down and torn apart by these beasts. You take your horses and mules and flee across the soggy, muddy banks into the other side. And interestingly, you can see, if you look back, glowing eyes in the dark, as it seems that all along the riverbank on the other side, there are wolves standing along the riverbank, not following you. Seems that you have met her demands.
How many companions did we lose?
2. You now have 3 mercenaries.
Never gonna make it home.
Ross, I think we started the day with 3 mercenaries. I hate to
Picked up 2.
I hate to correct you when you're screwing us over.
Picked up 2 of them brigands. So.
Well,
We lost 2 mercs on the way down to spiders. We sent 2 home. We had 7 to begin with.
I have as the notes, so I'm gonna overrule that because my notes suck. So that
Don't let me stop you.
Right? Yeah, I'm gonna take that as my fault because I have both that you sent 2 mercenaries back, and you had picked up 9 level 0s. One of them was Faircar, and you kept him. You sent the rest home, right. And I have that you still have 5 mercenaries following that, which are probably my notes are just bad, but you'll benefit from my notes being bad because that's my fault. So
there's no fault, Ross. We're crossing the time streams here. It's all good.
I'm going to let's see what happens as you travel.
Deogonate other refugees. Okay, yeah. Cool.
And I have to finally use one of my... I'm also going to see if your guide is the one that died. I'm going to reduce this to a small percentage, which passes. And I need a rule that I haven't used yet. Okay. Oh, nice. Oh, wait. Nice. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Everything's fine here. We're all fine here. Okay.
Oh, a little Star Wars reference. We're all fine here. How are you?
There you go. Golden classic.
You flee into the night and encounter 6 more desperate souls, basically running into them. They seem to be also fleeing from the eastern seaboard, where the coast road is, having fled together. You catch up on some things here.
We pitch to these guys that we're traveling to Anne's Woodfort and see if they'll join us as well.
They eagerly do so. They have no chance of survival out here, and they know it. So you have 6 level 0s in addition.
They can die somewhere we don't know.
Just who attacked?
Yeah, we'll pay them after.
Read if they survive.
All right. It is currently nighttime, in the dark of night. What do you do? I should say, you flee into a nearby forest on the opposite bank. And then you see a large clearing where it becomes sparse. Miles around a lone bald hill that's rocky. This is the remains of a reek here in northern Albion that has been beaten down by the weather. The soil isn't rich and good for trees. So you have kind of like this big clearing around and then this one bald hill. And as you come up to it, Farrar he's like, it's a good thing that we saw that hill. I know that hill. From that hill, if we head back that way through the woods, we can cross the stream to the south to the other side. Or, from where we are, we can continue into the forest from here ahead. And, that'll take us to the main bridge. And the coast road. It's probably 3 days travel that way to the bridge. Probably a good day and a half travel to the waterfront. If we hadn't ran into that hill, I would have been lost.
Where is this hill relative to us?
So you see it, you're fleeing the wolves behind you, and you cross the riverfront, which you reliably know goes north-south because you've been paralleling it. So you cross this north-south riverfront, and you flee into the woods on the other side. I'm going to say that you took probably an hour or two of fleeing, and eventually came back together, did a head count, made sure you had your horses and mules and equipment and everything, but probably tried to get away from the forest and the wolves. So now you're a ways into this forest, a good 6 miles or so, maybe 10 miles. And
We flee east?
I don't know that you would know that it's east, but you in a direction of east, like, 180 degrees, right? Because there's no way to know, but you went that way. Yes, right? But it could have been northeast or southeast or...
Okay. I was just wondering whether we fled across this toward the Forest of Nope or across the water to our south. That's just which river we fled.
I'm sorry, I didn't have... Can you point that out again?
Okay, you see where the yellow dot is? Did we go across this river or across this river?
Ah, you went across the first one that you said, the
Thank you.
east-west one. Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
And so now you're on the other side, on that Forest of Hope part, right? Somewhere in that forest, for sure. And then there's this big clearing 360 degrees around this bald, craggy hill. That whole area is probably a good 10 miles east to west, north to south.
Overcast?
10 miles in diameter. It is not overcast, but it's very windy. You can feel that a storm's probably coming in a few days.
I mean, Krogon can probably navigate by the stars and tell what direction we've headed in, right?
I'll make that a check. But an interesting thing about Krogon, your character wouldn't know this, and Krogon wouldn't know this, but the stars that Krogon has, I think, might be alien to your stars. I could be wrong on that matter, but
okay.
I think that's true, though.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not either. That's some deep lore stuff, but Krogon's from a different place. That part's true. But I still think that could be a check. I'll grant a wisdom check, wisdom saving throw in Swords and Wizardry.
So I have to roll under it?
So you roll, you have a saving throw number for a level 2 fighter, and you roll and you add your wisdom modifier to that. Nice.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay.
My wisdom Modifier's -1. But I think I still passed. I got a 17.
So there's a common star, Polaris, which is a little off north, and that's enough to work with. You know that Polaris has been kept to your left. So you're going somewhere within about a 30-degree arc, azimuth of east. So the river you crossed is some version of north-south within 30 degrees, and you cross that heading east somewhere within 30 degrees. Does that make sense? And you're about 6 miles into that forest now.
No wolves.
And it's nighttime, so I'm not going to reveal the map yet. But yeah, no wolves, and you only encounter these refugees fleeing through the woods at night. You're all very tired.
And this clearing seems like a good enough place to camp. I mean, with our backs to the hill.
All right. Let me bring that up.
I have no idea how the river moves here. All I know is it kind of goes this way.
I'm sorry, that stream canceled for me for some reason. I don't know why. So I didn't see what you were pointing
accidentally
at.
closed it. So.
Oh, okay. So what were you saying about what were you pointing to?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Need to see the map to see how the river goes. This is all just a wild guess.
Yeah.
It could curve up here. I don't even know if this forest is really this shape. I don't remember. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. And then let's see. What was I going to say? Oh, I need to do some checks. It is nighttime, so you're resuming. Are you going to try to sleep into the next day to try to get your sleep back? Because it's been a couple hours, so I'm not thinking. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Worst that could happen is another encounter that was going to happen anyway.
Okay.
I mean, at light, we could have maybe somebody who just walk up on the hill and look around. It's like a small hill, right?
I'm doing the wrong thing here anyway. It's probably 500 feet, but it's also fairly shallow. It would be possible for someone to walk up it. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, now I can do it.
Hey.
6, 15.
I guess we're over by this hill. This is the hill we were navigating by.
It's about it is about 9 a.m. in the morning, past sunrise. You're trying to get some sleep. When you realize, so who would be on watch, like on the probably your, at this point, I don't know, 4th watch at this point.
Not me.
Oh.
I'll take the last watch.
This would be second to last. It'd be before last watch, but okay. Kellic.
Oh.
So, Kellic, you see these mounds out into the forest. And they're about, let's see, they're about 200 yards out. And the mounds just look like really strange, I don't know, like maybe there's just brush or what do you call it? Ruin? I'm trying to think of the word for it, but anyways, just like brambles, that have gathered up. But then you realize, and this is about 9 a.m. right now, and for everyone to get the benefits of rest for the night at this point, without a penalty for the next day, they need to rest until into noon almost, okay? And you realize you can start to see those brambles move. And there's something in the woods about 200 yards away from you all that is moving along the forest floor. All the way up a man-sized height up in trees and twice the width of a man, what you thought were just underbrush is starting to just move and shift. And then you realize one of them, like, folds open, and that what looked like a bunch of, like, branches starts to go up one of the thick, mossy, hoary trees. This happens as the sunbeams start to penetrate the canopy of the forest, and just after sunrise, the temperature has dropped.
All right, so let me make sure that I'm understanding things right. We've run through the woods in our flight and have arrived at a hill on the far side that's a landmark.
You're not to the hill.
Now we're looking.
So the hill is about it's about
like at the base,
3
the
or
foot of
4
it.
miles. Yeah, but there's this big clearing, and what I heard you all say is that you're going to keep your back to the clearing in the woods. So you've got these woods around you, but then this big clearing, and then a hill off in the distance in the clearing.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So, if people need rest and these things aren't approaching, and we're outside the forest, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start by letting people rest, and whoever's on watch with me, because we got enough people for at least 2 a watch, I'm just gonna have them stoke up the fire a bit, so that if things get nasty, we've got lots of brands to work with.
All right.
But unless they approach, I'm gonna let folks sleep.
As you're
They start getting
watching,
closer, we'll wake up.
at certain points, some of them get closer, and at times you think, I'm going to have to wake people up. You ignite the flame and make the fire hot to try to ward off, things. I will make a check kind of in your all's favor, which passes. And because this giant fire. And but you're eventually, this tense moment passes. You try to get what sleep you can, the worst watch of the night, which is second to last. That's the worst one, in my opinion. And then the last person you tell them, I assume. Who's the last on watch?
I can be.
All right, Rogarius, you can see that these things, you see what he's talking about now. And as the heat begins to increase in the day, and the sun starts to rise higher up, and you eventually you're able to make out that there's a gigantic nest of dozens of giant spiders. Like north of you here is a nest so large that the wilderness itself has become a nest of spiders, like a whole colony of these things.
Like a gossamer net on the woods.
You've kind of camped out a couple 100 yards from the edge of it, but you can actually see these fat, ropey vines that are actually just spider webs that cover the forest 200 yards to the north.
Let's say this is good.
The forest dry?
Nah. Not that dry. I like it though. I do. Yeah.
As people wake up, as long as there isn't like any immediate danger, I'm gonna let people get their sleep. But as they start to wake up, I'm gonna be pointing all of this out to them. If it's not obvious.
Okay. By being careful and not approaching that place, as you pointed out to everyone, and identifying it, you're able to keep your distance from this thing, at least as far as you can tell, although you can't help but look up around you in the forest canopy, wondering if one of these things is waiting for you up above. And the day begins at noon now. You have no penalties. You should mark off another ration. And I will now show you. You said you go to the hill. Somebody, Dr. Bloom, or Dr. Bloom.
I thought we were like camped at the base of it, so no, I won't send anybody.
Okay.
Misunderstood.
I will. The only reason that I have it such a tight radius right now is just because you're surrounded by woods. But your guide claims to know where you are.
Shall we
We're
move in the direction?
do you follow? Well, actually, he said if you tell him where to go or tell him, hey, lead the way, Fairheart, he says, look, the tough part of this is, well, we've got some bad options. Where we came from is that crazy lady and her wolves. Or we could head straight across the river. But that means crossing a stretch of these woods, and I don't know what's in those woods. Probably a couple miles we'll have to travel through the woods.
You know this hill.
And then there's that hill. I think it's safe. But if we continue east from here, across on the other side of that hill, there's really bad news. There's a gang out there. Maybe if we'd had enough mercenaries, we could have taken them on. But,
Oh, okay. I didn't see this stream.
I'm just mapping as we go. I'm guessing. My understanding is the forest probably comes down like this, if we have to go through it to get further. Either that or the river comes up, but we'll get there.
if we had just had enough mercenaries, I think we could have taken them. But I could have taken that fort. Damn it.
So you're saying you don't think we can do it now?
There's at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen. One of them is a sorcerer, weirdo. Some of them changed. They don't look like people.
On?
Where is the spider nest thing?
Spider Hill? It's
relation-
right here.
Yeah, Spider
Oh, there it
Hill.
is. Oh, spider.
Yeah,
So
Spider
did
Hill is just
we-
like right next to you, 200 yards
So
off.
Did we cross through that in the night?
No, so if you're going like east-ish, you know, it's been to your left after you arrived. Actually, a little bit left and rear. You kind of crossed south-ish under it. Southeast, southwest, somewhere.
Okay. Um,
Where's the ford? I mean, he's taking us to this ford. Is it east?
Right, he points into the forest with the hill to the left. He says, I think that way is south. Somewhere into that forest. He kind of points out a whole arc, you know. And he says, either way, we'll come up to the stream somewhere. But to do that, we gotta cross through the forest. I guess, to be honest, I think that's our best bet.
what if we took the long way around the forest, going up northeast but staying outside of it, and just traveling along the edge of the forest?
Well, the problem with that is we'd run into that gang. No doubt they have patrols, listing posts. They're probably trying to... We're a good 2 days journey out from their land. Unless you want to go that way. And he kind of points vaguely toward where the spiders are. Like I said, not a lot of good options. I think our best option is to go where we don't know there's a threat.
I mean, I almost feel like our original mission is foobarred at this point.
I mean, I thought, is there no ford that crosses this river to the south?
He says, Fairhar says, aye, that's what I'm saying. To get to that ford to the south, we'll have to go through the forest. A small stretch of it, mind you. A good 2, 3, 4 miles.
Okay. Now, let me make sure I'm understanding this, Ross, because I'm trying to do a little mapping. Provisional mapping. It doesn't need to be perfect, but we're in a clearing with the forest behind us.
You could
water to
probably
us.
you could probably send somebody ahead to that hill, and then they will see the area around it. If you want to.
Why don't we
do
all
that.
go?
Okay.
Why don't we all
Let's
go
do
to the
that.
hill?
That sounds like a good idea, and we'll get a better view from there, and I'll try to fill in the map a little bit provisionally.
This I'll just
Honest,
say
just
the
my
downside to
maps
this
these
is
days.
it takes time. Well, that's not very good, is it? But I think you can see some things. You are almost getting past the maximum amount of human vision, right? So, like, if you're on a flat area, human vision goes about 5 to 6 statute miles. But being on a hill, I'll say that you can kind of gain the advantage of angle to be about 10 statute miles or whatever. So. That's a ways. So there's this huge forest that stretches on for almost a day or two
Middle
travel,
of the forest.
and you're able to see the banks to the south. So that's the good news. And from here, so I'm gonna make a check because that's the downside is it took time. Okay, no problem. So now it's early. Let me look. This would make it early evening. It's like 4 or 5 p.m. right now. But from the hillside, he points some things out, right? So, I did that on the wrong layer, I think. I did. Let me put that. Boop. But nonetheless, spiders, right? There's this big clearing about a half mile or so all the way around it. Or maybe, 2 miles. And you're on this big bald hill, right? Surrounded by forest. This way, there's he points that way and he says, "Off that way somewhere is that gang. They've got their own stronghold out there. If
What
we
way is
just
he
had
pointing?
enough mercenaries." And he points this way.
Well, maybe we could take him by surprise or something.
It'd be a
Northeast.
gamble, but
Oh, well,
If we took
everything's
that-
a gamble.
if we took that fort, though, and the things in that fort.
Say more.
What kind of fort
have you
is
heard?
it?
Look, I haven't been there, but there's no way they're surviving out here if they haven't stolen off everyone that's been coming by. They're the one of the gangs that fight for control of the road near the bridge. That means there's treasure there, if you ask me.
What crazy bastards are coming by?
All these poor people look at each other when you say that.
And they have something worth stealing.
Well, I'll tell you one thing they've got worth stealing. A wood fort. Or some sort of stronghold or cave. Something that they use as a sanctuary out here. And that alone would be worth having.
All right, it's already evening.
Early evening, yeah.
Early evening. I mean, what do you guys think? I almost think we should just camp while we're on top of this hill so that we can cut down on the chance of us being surprised in the middle of the night.
Seeing things coming, yeah.
And we get up at first light, and we're out by first light. We get up before first light, and we decamp.
Sure. So, okay, but let's make sure that we actually have a plan, because we've diverted ourselves once, and that was not the end of the world, but diverting ourselves a second time in the middle of the wilderness could get kind of nasty pretty quick.
I think we should scout out this fort and at least see what we're dealing with.
Do we want to abandon trying to head to this place further south? I guess I figure it's somewhere over here in this kind of area below the river.
What is it?
This is the wood fort that our guy Firkar was trying to go to when he was pressed into service.
A friendly wood fort or the bandits?
It's bandits who aren't as bad. For whatever reason, this was considered a place that all these guys, when we said we're headed there, they joined up with us. So it must have some reputation for not being hell.
There was also a rumor that it had been taken.
It was being attacked, and so the reason that we had come down originally was because we thought, oh, we'll show up and there will be a weakened force that's had to fight its way into a fort, possibly a damaged fort that we'll be able to just mop up.
A force of what?
Other bandits.
Oh, other bandits. Okay,
We're getting diverted. Yeah, I mean, they can already have fixed their fortifications because we've been pushed out of,
It's possible.
At this, one of the refugees. I've taken to calling them refugees, but I suppose that it all is a matter of perspective. The truths we cling to, and so, but I'm calling them refugees for right now. And one of them says, "Excuse me, I don't mean to contradict you, sir." And he pointed over here, okay, he points. He says, we fled those bandits, those brigands, and I can tell you reliably that they weren't there. They were over here, which is several miles away. And at this, Fairhar is like, "That's ridiculous. Why are you lying? What do you have to gain? Are you a spy? What are you talking about?" And he's like, No, I'm not a spy. I just forget it. Never mind. Forget I said anything.
Okay, what were the two directions? Can you give me those as arrows again, Ross?
Yeah, I'll even use an arrow as an azimuth. So, here a good day and a half journey away into the forest, at which Fairheart kind of says is kind of like the edge of the forest. So if you continued another 3 days, then you'd be out of the forest. So he says, like, over here, somewhere there is where their sanctuary is. And this other guy claims that it's over here, about a half day's journey to the north, almost northeast. They both seem really certain. Fairheart claims the other one's lying, and then the other one is like, "Forget I said anything. I'm sorry."
Fairheart is the former bandit, right?
Yep.
But he's also in for a share of whatever we take, so he's got some motivation to at least find where the treasure is.
Also get a reward for luring a bunch of, patsies up to the fort who've been, beat down by the wilderness, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know why he would ever have thought he'd survive that trip when he was that close to Zelkor's Ferry at the start. I don't know.
What about this? Let's get this other refugee aside and question him about his background and whatnot. See if we can't trip him up into a lie.
Or just figure out that there were two forts all along.
Yeah, that's a possibility also.
Did this fort have legs?
He just, if you ask him that, he says, Look, I don't mean any trouble. I thought I was helping, but I'm just really grateful. And I do. I agree. We need to try to find some sort of sanctuary. If it's a cave or a wood fort, maybe we should just give ourselves over to the gang. At least then we'd survive. We could just surrender. Maybe they'll let us in one of these gangs nearby.
What were you before you were here now? What were you doing a year ago?
Well, a year ago, I have to look at the name of this place up again. I need to just write it down every time we're out in the woods.
You're talking about Corgay?
Corgay, yeah, which is the northernmost town in Eastreach.
What was his occupation? I don't know where was he from, but what was his occupation?
I was a what are they called? an iron trader. I traded in tools, and I was trading in the villages north of Corgay, and I was captured. Now this lines up with what a lot of them have been saying. There are all these, in the modern world we would call them displaced persons, you know, that like have been caught up in what's going on along the coast road, and they get pressed into service or taken as human slaves, human trafficking as a kind of resource. Yeah.
DPPs.
Okay. So, I've got a heuristic, heretic. I'm going to go ahead and, before I assume that one of them's lying, I'm going to assume that both of them are right, and that this is a surprising truth. Not that one of them has bad information. I want to know when they got their information.
Okay. Well, I would believe the iron trader before the other guy.
I think you're right, but I think they both have very little reason to lie to us outright because of how unbelievably dangerous it was to come out this way willingly to begin with.
But the former brigand might have a better lay of the land than the iron trader because he's worked with these brigands, right?
That's true. Well, actually, I don't know if he worked I don't know if he worked out this way, or if this is just rumors they're both going on.
If you ask him, he says, Fairhar says, "No, I never worked with that group. They were just a threat." No, the truth be told, as I said, I worked with a crew north of Corgay for a while. Then we got pressed into service and separated. Well, some of my friends fell in with this Ann's group. Seems like a reliable sort, but we also fought them when we encountered them. You have to do what you have to do to survive out here. But this group up here along the coast road, no. It was just a matter of survival to try to evade them, get away from them. I don't know much about them, but I know that they say that they had a sorcerer among them, and I know that they're a gang. They probably have more than a dozen.
When did you hear that their fort was up where it is 3 days north of here? 3 days northeast.
When I was trying to make my way through the forest, and you encountered me, I almost made it to Zelkor's Ferry. I don't mean any offense by this, but this was a foolish decision on my part to follow you all down here. I should have just risked it. Tried to make my way through the spiders, make it to Zelkor's Ferry. I've heard that when you get there, you can get out of this place. I've heard a lot of things.
You'll have your payday yet.
Well, anyways, tracking through the forest, it was a matter of evading that bunch. We knew that they lived somewhere out on the edge of the forest. Their crews, they raided the coast road and the bridge, as I said, fought with other gangs. It wouldn't make any sense for them to be all the way north into the forest like he said. Why, that's the area I traveled through. I would have stumbled right on their woodfort if I'd done that. Or if they've done that.
No one's calling you a liar. But these are busy woods. There could be all sorts of stuff out here. For now, I'm assuming you might both be right.
I don't deny that. We just saw an army of wolves last night. All right.
Can we get when does our iron trader? When did he find out about the location of this place?
He says, sirs, I just came through this area just days ago. I was, let me see real quick. There's something useful here. Based on where he came from. Sorry, I want to try to give you the best information considering where he came from. There's a camp a long way south of here. It's in a group of reeks. Nothing but trees and nothing but scrubs and black rock. They were taking me there. This was only days ago, but I made a break for it and made it across the bridge and into the forest. I'm starting to think that was a mistake. Maybe I should have allowed them to take me.
You know what bridge he's talking about?
They keep talking about a bridge that's like several days march east of here. It's further than that, but I'm just indicating the direction. You can use this better to indicate the direction this ways.
So it's like dead east-ish. Leads to some point on the bridge. Okay. That means water goes north at some point. No. Don't know what to do with that for now.
So if we camp here tonight, what do we do in the morning? I mean, I feel like I don't think we're any more prepared. I mean, we're way less prepared than we were to go to Anne's for her assistance.
I don't know if that's true. We left with 7 mercs by the end of... We were down to 3 mercs at the start of the session. We're still at 3 mercs and the rest of us, and we have the 4th level caster.
Okay.
He'll have... Like, okay, so the fight at Zelkor's Ferry, there was a mage. If we're up against a mage and we're tucked in and prepared, if we get to the fort and there's something worth defending and it's not just us deciding whether or not to assault it, which would be a different question, we've got a long range silence 15-foot radius. We've got light spells to blind leaders. I think we've got a fighting chance against a foot force of bandits. And if for some idiotic reason they bring cavalry, then there's no way they're going to get into a fort to begin with. We just pick them off with arrows.
Okay. So we'll camp and then move towards the ford in the morning? Is that the plan then?
That's my suggestion. I don't know if that's smart. It's just an option.
What do you think, Darren and Mike?
Yeah, I think we could move towards the fort just before first light and at least scout it out.
Yeah.
Are you thinking the northern forts, or are you thinking... Which direction are you thinking you want to go?
I mean, either's fine. Probably the closer one.
Okay.
Yeah, and Krogon has been pretty silent the whole time, sleeping. But he's like, yeah, we must move, I suppose, one way or another. I will go where you decide. And he's munching on a chunk of pig.
We have 2 going for the ford. One wants to go for the northern fort, and one goes with whatever. At our consensus.
I mean, I don't feel strongly enough to insist on suicide. I don't think that we have to give up on the southern wood fort just because of the force that we have yet.
So
but I think there's trouble everywhere.
I mean, the majority says to move towards the ford and cross the river. Does anybody not want to do that vehemently?
I vehemently want to slay and get treasure.
All right, so we should go to the fort. We know there's a conflict at the fort to the south, whereas the forts to the north are completely... We don't know where they are, or if there's one of them or 2 of them, and they're completely defended, whereas the one to the south is in the middle of a conflict. So we should go for the southern one, right?
That sounds good.
Okay, so we'll move towards the ford to go south.
Okay. And you want to camp out here for the night?
Top of the hill.
Okay. All right, let me...
Yeah, just to be clear, on top of the hill, we're not under the canopy of trees, right? we're not gonna have spiders dropping down on us.
Yeah,
clearing around the hill.
Yeah, that's right. The whole area is kind of barren and rocky through this area.
Okay.
Let's see here.
We can have our henchmen scout the hill to make sure there's like no caves or anything around it while we're planning all this out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
A couple
idea.
thieves that can slink about.
I think you could. You could. Let me see here. You could roll a wisdom saving throw to as far as and this will count kind of for your reconnaissance while you're also setting up camp and watches and stuff like that. I'm gonna roll some things to see what's gonna happen through the night. And then you said you want to leave at first light. Like, is that right? Or just before dawn? Is that the plan? Okay. So let's see.
Yeah, we want to decamp right before dawn, so we're ready.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
14.
Right. A 14.
Rolled under my wisdom.
Does that beat your saving throw number?
What's the saving throw for a wisdom saving throw?
Yeah, so Swords and Wizardry.
Oh, yeah, my saving throw is 15.
15. Okay, so it didn't pass, right? Okay.
Trying to roll under or over for the saving throw. Okay.
Yeah, in Swords and Wizardry, yeah.
Are there bonuses or no for having a higher wisdom?
Yeah, you can add. What's your wisdom score?
17.
17. Okay, so that's a plus 2. So yeah, you pass. So a 16 beats your saving throw of 15. Okay. They come back after a time. Your scouts do, and they identify that there's an area where you could probably dig in. It would be very defensible, and you wouldn't be as visible. It's kind of like a shallow area on a lower part of the hill. You'd need to move your camp to use it.
Yeah,
But
let's do it.
Okay, that'll just take more time, but it'll also make it to where you'll have a better chance in case you encounter something. So I'll just move the time forward. The second thing they note is that you do find a cave entrance. They did not go in it.
Oh.
That
Did they
is
find tracks around it?
Yes, they found humanoid tracks, but only like a set. They were faint. It didn't look like it was heavily trafficked, and it was on the opposite side of the hill. It was on the other side. In other words, it doesn't look like it had been used in a while.
I mean, perhaps some creature hid its treasure there?
What? That's the wrong... Why did I do that? Here we go.
I'm all for getting the ends for it, but I mean, gold to supply, to finance our mission would also be good.
You have the stern.
I mean, I'm calling for a vote. Do we want to investigate the cave, or do we just want to go to the ford?
You, okay, yeah.
We should probably investigate this cave before we camp out just above it.
It's on the other side of the hill, he said.
How big is this hill? Or like how
500?
Like,
He said 500 feet or yards, I believe.
500 feet, yeah. So not quite a mountain. It takes, winds you to walk up it, but it's possible to walk up and down it. It's not even. It's not like a conical hill. It's got places where it plateaus and stuff like that. It's got different features, and so you find a place where there's like this. I don't know what to call it, a defilade, like a place that goes down where you're able to kind of a depression where you're able to sink down into it and not be seen as well. But it takes extra time setting up the camp. And then on the opposite side of the hill, like almost a fraction of a mile away, on the base of the hill, there's a small cave.
So our hirelings could move the camp while we investigated the cave if everybody was down with that. Is everybody down with that or no?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it's a majority.
Yeah.
All right, you find the cave as they pointed out, and it's dark and narrow. What do you do? The tracks around it are
tracks.
Yeah, the tracks that they were talking about are so faint. You're confident that no one has been in here in more than a week.
So
I'll strike up a torch, have my shield out, and I will carefully, unless somebody else more sneaky than me wants to volunteer, I'll start to walk slowly into the cave.
Now, I assume that you have Euelis, Rhodocon, and Malar with you, right?
yeah, I was gonna get Rhodocon and Malar to take up posts and guard and listen and search for traps.
All right, they do that. They don't find any traps. It seems like a natural cave entrance. The only thing that's peculiar is they hear on the inside of the cave. Actually, I have to check on this. Let me see. They hear the sounds of songbirds in the cave, which makes no sense because it's a cave. What I mean to say is that they hear the sounds of birds that are woodland birds that don't go in caves. But apart from that, the other thing that's peculiar is that the darkness at the entrance of the cave is like a blanket. It's hard to see any further in without actually going into it.
Pelak will offer to tie a rope around Regarius's waist. He'll splice two together, and he'll just belay him out. He'll offer to belay him in as he goes, and if he needs help getting out, just two tugs on the rope, and he comes back.
Is that
our cleric?
Oh,
our cleric could cast light also, right?
Yeah. Do you want him to do that?
Yes, if it would help. Perhaps on somebody's weapon or shield or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could have him cast it on my shield, and then I can go in sword and shield.
All right. Now, is this?
I'll go in sword and spear.
Are you sending?
So I can poke.
Go ahead. I'm hearing multiple plans at this point, but go ahead. I'm just making sure that. Actually, no, don't go ahead. Let me parse this. So what I'm hearing right now is, and I want to make sure I get your consent, Darren, because it's your hireling. Rhodocon, the thief, Martin is saying that you could tie a rope to him and send him in, and then he can tug and you can pull him out. I'm also hearing, let's shield up and start to advance in with a light spell cast on it.
I was offering to tie a rope around Regarius.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was the one going in.
I thought you said Rhodocon. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Krogon will pull out his sword and stand up beside you and go, "I'll go with you, brother."
Okay.
Thank you.
You tie ropes around these two warriors, and at that, Euelis is like, "I could cast light, but if you feel that is best, I can give you a light for this darkness."
Chaos shields this cave from our vision. We need the light.
Do it, wizard, priest.
He offers his hands up to the heavens, and he says, "O light that connects sky, ground, and that which is beneath, give light even into the places of darkness. For the light is everywhere, and it can touch everything, even the outer darkness of the underworld." And you see a light, kind of like the sun. What it probably looks like is the clouds clear, and the sun almost kind of blinds your eyes, and it kind of glimmers on his shield as you guys start to go in. It seems as if his prayers go unanswered, at least from the point of view of Father Bloombad and Kellic, because as they go in, you no longer see them.
And everyone will pile on, too, and thieves will come in. We'll go in force.
Oh, everybody's going in. I thought it was just I thought it was just Regarius and Krogon that had a rope tied to them.
We'll go in the front.
Krogon and friends and Regarius. Okay. All right. Krogon and friends and Regarius. Okay. This is what you all see. Oop. Something weird I have to actually... find it.
Going in. All right, Crom, count the dead.
Take me a second. Here we are. Krogon, Rogarius. As you step through into this darkness, you suddenly feel a blinding light, Rogarius, onto your shield. The light fades away, and in your eyes you see a world that is both sunless and also completely lit with twilight. You see a wide square lawn with in this lawn it's surrounded by a large hedge all around it. There's a pathway leading off from the hedge and opening in it. There are 10-yard squares that are neatly manicured, alternating between black stone and white stone slabs. There are chess pieces that would come up just a little shorter than you. They appear to be made of obsidian white marble and black marble. All along the bottom of them are scattered humanoid bones. You can see on the edge of the hedges nests of what look like nests for giant birds, but they seem to be empty, just tangled masses of twigs and detritus. What do you do?
I look at Krogon and I say, well, I don't see any monsters in here. Shall we head back?
And I don't see any treasure.
This is a little bit creepy.
What are the chess pieces made of?
You all go and from a distance they look to be made of stone or marble or something like that, or you can go and you can take a closer look at them.
Can we leave then?
You can leave, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree. Warrior, let's go. This place is weird.
The ropes, they extend behind you into a break in the hedge, like another pathway. It appears to you to just be a hedge pathway, like a hedge maze. And that's where the rope leads. You guys leave?
What do you guys? What do you think?
This would be Mike and Darren, I think, is what it's up to right now.
Yeah, we'll head back. Let's go. We'll tell the others.
Okay. All right. You
Yeah, that's a good idea. Good idea.
You return to following the rope into this hedge. until the light blinds you again. You see the sunlight, and you come out. Looking behind you, you see a dark path leading into a cave. But now the light penetrates the edge of the darkness, despite the footsteps that seem to go into it, the faint trail. You see that it just simply ends in a sandy bank in stone.
Gone?
Yeah.
I'll go up and touch it to see if it's an illusion, the wall.
You go up and you touch the wall, and it feels like a stone wall on the opposite side. It's jagged and narrow, and you have to lean down, but although there's like cracks and fissures and stuff where maybe insects and stuff, but even then looking into it, it doesn't look like it goes very far. It looks like this is just a small stone cavern that doesn't lead anywhere.
Oh, back to camp, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, do we want to investigate it any further? I mean, there's nothing to investigate, right?
Unless you like playing chess.
We can't get in there, though.
Yeah, did we... What happened? I'm not sure what happened there.
Well,
You guys went in, you saw some stuff, you went out, and then the portal disappeared.
Yeah, so we haven't told you yet, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I'm just sitting here with a rope, giving it a yank every 30 seconds or so, and hoping to get one back.
yeah, sorry. Let's circle back. Yeah, I definitely want you guys to be able to share. So, Krogon and Rogarius and Rhodocon and Malar, you all you see that light as you follow the rope back. You said you went back, right? I want to make sure I got that right. Was that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you follow the rope back, and it goes into this hedge, and it gets really bright, and then it looks like it's the sun from where you came from. And you just have just the cavern wall on either side, and you come back out, and your friends are there. And that's what you see. When you turn back around, you look, you can see, even though it's dim and dark, you can still kind of tell you just came from there, that the cavern space just ends. And that's all you see.
It was very strange. There was a game of weird statues, but no treasure.
What phase of the moon are we on?
I just asked that last session. Good question.
Oh yeah, it's dark. Let's see. Let me take a look.
Yep.
Oh, and I need to be... Let's see. 10, 20.
Perhaps this is a portal that only opens every so often.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3.
Perhaps we need to come back here in a month or more's time.
Or never.
Well, at least there isn't some creature that's going to come out of there and bother us while we rest. That was the main thing for now.
Yeah, that was my primary concern.
A portion of the moon is apparent. It's waning crescent.
Okay, waning crescent heard.
Okay.
I mean, should we give it like a 10-minute search and then just go back if we don't find anything?
Krogon just muttered something about sorcery and shutters. I need something that bleeds I can cut with my sword.
Well, I don't think it would hurt for us to just search around for 10 minutes to see if we find any artifacts.
All right. You take the time to search around. You don't find anything significant. Yeah. At least I think basically the way I described the cave is, especially if you, like you said, if you go in and check and look at that, that's basically what you find. So you return to the campsite, or do you all do something else?
What do you guys want to do?
Do we need to?
I'm ready to camp and then head out to the fort.
Let's get an early night's sleep.
Right, early night's sleep. Now about that.
Take
Let me see. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'll take first watch.
Let me see here. You, okay, so regardless, the first watch of the night, you see something very strange. There's a thunder that cracks across the sky. Actually, that is not the right thing. But like there's this booming thunder, and you can actually see streaks of lightning, horizontal lightning, that shoot across, and then these fat arcs that strike into the ground. And across, because you're on this hill, you can see from the waterfront a curling mist that just rolls across the riverfront, and you hear howls. This is miles off in the distance, but you see this fog just roll in, and you see lightning strike down into it. This is a ways off, but that's what you see.
Okay. I'll just try to make a note of what direction this happened in and
This way.
kind of keep an eye on it, see if anything else weird happens tonight. But I won't wake anybody up yet over it.
Yeah. The lightning stops. In fact, it happens quickly. Some of your level zeros, they just wake up, like, oh God, what's happening? What's happening? But it passes. But you can see the thick fog. It hangs for a long time and then dissipates almost like fire smoke, just becoming thinner and thinner and rolling out further even into the forest, eventually dissipating. That's all you see. The rest of the night passes. Without anything else. And I'm going to increase your visibility because it's daytime. And you can see a ways off. Forest for miles everywhere. Around. Yeah, forest everywhere. This big clearing, this rocky big hill, or conglomerate of hills, anyways, in the middle of this big clearing. And then ways off to the south, you see the riverbank. What do you all do?
We were going to head for the fort, right? We are all still on board with that plan?
Actions. Seems okay. Lead away.
Yeah, sounds good.
2, 3, 4. You encounter, this is what kind of happens. If you follow your guide, he takes you, into the forest. It's thick here. You can see this mossy growth. It's just an old, suffocating forest. A lot of the people that are traveling with you constantly look around up above them into the trees. Until eventually you find yourself at a waterfront. It's a long ways across, but it's shallow and very muddy. If you were to make it across and come out on the other side, It's going to take a long time, especially with the horses, and you're going to become really muddy. And that's kind of what it would take to do that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the plan originally, right?
Yeah, I'm here for the mud. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
I'll sit on my horse with my bow, my short bow, and an arrow, and I'll keep watch as people cross, and then follow behind.
All right, Overwatch. Okay.
Yeah.
You have at least no security problems. You're able to cross. It takes a long time, such that by the time you make it into the other side, your water, you're soggy and muddy and covered in mud, and the horses have had to work really hard. They are also exhausted. Your mules, I believe you have 4 mules, don't you?
Yes.
Or 2 mules? Kellic has 2 mules.
2 at least for the mercenaries, and we had a couple more for something.
I've written down 2 mules.
Maybe it was just one.
Kellic.
We also had horses.
Yes, and then you have a riding horse, and Rogarius and Krogon have war horses, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a
I thought
riding
it was
horse.
Bloombad.
I have a war horse.
The war horses came from the session with the attack on Selkirk's Ferry.
Gotcha. Okay, so Krogon and Father Bloombad have war horses. You 2 have riding horses. Okay, so you make it to the other side and it's already dark. An interesting thing happens. You encounter 9 more people who hail you openly. They say, "Hail!" They raise their hands. They approach you.
Okay. How are they dressed and armed?
They're carrying staffs. Some of them have large sacks with belongings, which you can actually hear things clanking in loudly. And they don't seem to. None of them are apparently well armed or armored.
Hail, travelers. Where come you from?
They say, they look at, is anybody wearing like a, I mean, Euelis would be obviously, it'd be obvious that he'd look like a cleric. Does Father Bloombad look that way? Like, do y'all have like...
I'm more a war priest, but yeah.
War priest. Okay. You don't look like one of the gangs out here. I would suggest if you want to survive, you head direct east to the road and head south and get out of this country. It's not safe here.
Bring the light with us. Our hearts. Our minds.
Oh, a crusade then. Where are you going? They're still a ways off. They haven't approached you. They don't know if they can trust you either.
We go to look for Anne's Woodfort.
Anne's Woodfort. That's just where we came from.
What transpired there, my friend?
They're starving. They won't last another week. Several of them are sick.
They under siege, or what?
Not anymore, no. But that won't last long. It won't be long till one of these gangs sees that fort.
Well, point us in the proper direction, please.
You have food?
I have some food.
Okay, so as a note, I have a lot of food. I bought 100 man days of food for the mercenaries. It was 2 weeks ahead before we left.
I'm at like 15.
And we lost a lot of mercs, so we have like 63 or 65 unassigned rations that no one needs.
Go ahead and hook them up.
Well, you don't have to tell them we've got food. That might not be safe, but we do have it if it comes up. If you guys...
There's have you been subtracting food to feed the your followers too?
Yeah, I'm just marking it. I have 2 weeks earmarked for everyone who's alive, and then that's just the.
So you all have been feeding Rodicon, Malar, the mules, horses, and Fairhar, and the 3 mercenaries, and 6 level 0s for this past day.
Okay. I have not. I mean, I have food for Euless.
I'm just tracking my rations.
Okay, that makes sense. And then Krogon, you've been feeding your 2 hirelings, and then
I have to feed them.
Right? Yes. So I think that would be. Let's see. That's 2 times 4 is this is 8 rations.
All right, I'm out of food. All right, I got some garlic they can chew on now.
I think that food is actually quite critical.
Mm-hmm.
And the horses, I think the horses can range. They can kind of do that. But, when you ride them hard, that's hard too. Like, they're going to need food and rest soon. But it's not some really crunchy thing. But, like, you can't just let horses exist on grass and stuff for weeks at a time.
I didn't know how to feed hirelings. But that's... So I'm out of food now.
All right.
Krogon, I'll give you 3 days worth of food, Krogon.
And then you've been feeding Euless, right?
No, I mean, he gave most of his food to refugees, but he never said he was out of food.
Okay,
I assume he still had a few days.
I'll just note that he is now out of food, because it has been a good week or so.
I will give him 1 day of food also.
Okay.
Which puts me at 11 days.
Alrighty. All right. And then the refugees, there's 6 of them. Anyways, there's 9 of these people. That's what they say. And one of them is like, maybe they have food. Maybe they could feed us. He looks desperate.
We plan on going to Zelkor's Ferry after this. So, I mean, perhaps if you follow us now, we could group together and go there. Safety in numbers.
He licks his lips. You can see even off in the distance, even as the sun sets, he's like, if you have food to share, we'll gladly join you.
I mean, we have some around here, and I'll be like chowing on this biscuit. Piece of jerky, and be like, I mean, I'm sure we could get you something. I mean, if you could just travel with us.
All right. There's 9 of them. That brings you to 15 level 0s, refugees that are now in your band, and it is now dark. I will actually, this probably don't have this level of visibility anymore. It's too dark to be able to see that. And I'll switch you back to nighttime. This. From where you are after you cross the river, it looks like a big open area around you. Kind of an open floodplain, river plain, valley. So.
Let's find a good place to set up camp. Are we in the evening, or is it still?
It is evening. Yeah, it's dark.
Also find a fortified area, or an area we can fortify.
All right. It's not easy to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and do my checks for the next day. And am I? No, I'm not gonna admit it. Okay. This place has a refugee crisis, and it's not just bad dice. It's like it does have that. There's a lot of stuff going on in these woods. In the morning, who's the last person on watch before the sun rises?
I'm normally first.
Darius before.
Okay.
I was on first watch.
Oh, you on first? I thought you were last.
But I can be on last. It doesn't, because I saw the lightning. I was first watch on the last night because I saw the lightning, which I told you guys about, by the way.
Maybe it cycles the other way. So okay, regardless, you're on the last watch. You see 12 figures approach you. They do the same thing. They surrender. Like, hey, don't hurt us. We're just trying to. We left Anne's fort, and they don't have any food there, and people are sick, and we are just leaving.
Well, people are sick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Sick with what?
They claim like they're coughing and weak. That probably just the lack of food is the problem.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
It's not like goblin pox going around or something.
Yeah, it's not some kind of weird infection, except that some of them have suffered from. They came under attack. They do tell you that they were able to defend the fort. Many people died. Some of them have since died of infections and things as well, and that others are sick and coughing. It is August in northern Britain, and you are in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
we don't want to get our people sick either, though. They should keep their distance. Make sure we, keep a distance between us and the new.
Ellis does the opposite.
Get food.
He goes up to them and he starts praying on them and healing the sick when he finds them and stuff.
Oh, pray from a distance, brother.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Martin?
Where does the fort normally get food if it's suddenly run out?
So when you ask that, this is a person. If you do, first of all, what do you do with these people? Like, do you invite them in too, or do you send them on their way? There's 12 of them.
We're getting a bit thick at this point, right?
Now they do tell you that they're close to the fort, so they think if you can solve their problems, that like they'll go back, and they claim that they're on good terms with Anne.
Let's hunt or fish or something. I mean,
Yeah.
let's create food.
If the issue is manpower, we can do that. If the issue is security, we can contribute to that. If the issue is wasting plague, that might be beyond us.
It's not like it's not like that. It's not some kind of weird plague thing or something. Exactly. So actually, do you say that in character? Do you bring that up? Like, do you have some sort of strange illness or something?
Like a fair question.
Yeah. Okay.
My character probably did.
Yeah. All right. If you bring that up, at first they dismiss it. They're like, no, of course not. And then they think for a moment. And they're like, well, there is something. Look, if you're going to go to Anne's fort, they look at Father Bloombad. They look at you, Ellis. Like, you need to understand some things, and if this doesn't fit or work for you, maybe you should just go somewhere else. First of all, stranger, you have to understand. My name is Lachlan, by the way, and everyone out here is probably out here not because they choose to be right now. Not toward the end of August. Not with the frost approaching. We're all just trying to get out of here alive or find a safe place. Anne's no different. And her crew's not different than that. I think falling in with Anne, we're lucky, just about as lucky as you can be out here. But Anne has some strange rules, and her crew has some strange things that you need to be able to accept, or else you'll be at odds with them. And we don't want to be near that if that's the case.
Such as?
Well, first of all, her close lieutenants, they have their own tinting that they formed, their own houses. No one's allowed in or out of them. You're not allowed to see inside her lieutenants' tents. Secondly, her lieutenants cover their face and eyes, and they wear hoods. And unless you trust Anne, you're not permitted to see her, and if you do, you have to swear an oath. She'll speak to you through a proxy. This is what I've seen happen with outsiders. And you can kill me now if you try to get me to betray that oath, because I'm not going to.
What is the oath?
Well, I will tell you this. It's to not reveal what we see when we go inside of her tent and speak with Anne. And I'm not going to do it.
I will not hide from the light. Does the oath involve hiding from the light?
Well, sir, and that's the other thing you ought to know. There's no worship of the light permitted in that place.
Blasphemy.
Why?
I won't say. He
So
stops
you
eating.
know? Know the reason, but you won't say?
I think I know, at least.
Oh,
Well,
walk with me. Walk with me.
All
Yeah,
right,
there you go.
he does.
I'm gonna get him off somewhere and rough him up. I mean,
Oh, really? That would
what
be
Crusader?
that would be a chaotic action per the setting guide document. Oh yeah,
I mean,
no, it
he's,
would be.
Okay, I apologize. I'm not trying to be chaotic. What I'm trying to do is find out.
No, it's
going
okay.
on.
You can choose to do
Chaotic.
that. Yeah, you can choose.
I only
to.
want to find out if there's something chaotic going on there. I mean,
Yeah, no, you can't. You
What?
can't torture somebody to find out something, or else they'll.
I wasn't going to torture him. I was going to rough him up. You can punch
Tell
some of
me
your
if there's
face.
chaos there.
We can ask him to assure us that it's not a den of chaos.
I
And,
revealed the
you know,
chaos to me, brother. The light shines on all. We could shine on you as well.
he says. He says. If you mean things of the underworld, the hills, that sort of dark thing, that's not Anne. That's not Anne. Anne is brutal, necessarily. She has to be, but she's fair and kind.
The light is forbidden within her walls.
I didn't say that.
Oh,
Just that there's no worship that goes on there. No,
that is forbidden then.
no prayers, no churches, no chapels, nothing like that. No services or rituals.
Pray constantly, so I would not be welcome within her walls, is what you're saying?
I think not.
Walk with the light, even in the darkness.
No, hang on. You guys are off on your own. Never mind.
I mean, I'll
I'm not
take
telling
him
you.
back.
I'm not telling you can't beat him up, but what I am saying is, if you beat him up, probably there'll be some sort of disfavor with the light, and then
Okay,
it's a chaotic
all right,
action.
I didn't mean that. I mean,
It's okay.
I
It's
would,
okay. It's okay.
I would use any means possible to spread the light. So, I mean,
Yeah.
someone saying that there's possible chaotic activity would cause me to want to do that. But if he's saying that I'm not allowed to, then I won't.
Why don't we play good cop, bad cop with Krogan?
Okay.
You can play good cop, bad cop. Why don't we just express our goodwill toward Anne as a fellow offerer of succor to those in need and ask if she would reject the help of 2 crusaders coming to defend the fort from whatever follow-on attack is maybe coming.
All right, so I'll come to you after I'll put this refugee back with his people, and I'll come to you. I will tell everybody what has transpired and what I've learned from this man or woman, whatever the case may be.
At this, Euelis says, "What sort of thing is happening out here that people have rejected the benevolence that's offered to them?
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy, perhaps, but also perhaps merely darkness of the mind. Maybe it's possible that these people have been cast into darkness, that with mercy they could be brought back. Perhaps that is why we're even here now, brother."
You're a wineskin is half full man, I see. All right.
Yeah, Krogan's flexing his sword. Yeah, bring them to the light. Ting.
He says, well, never mind. I was going to say, okay, yeah, never mind. He's like, perhaps. It's certainly possible with what we've seen. All of the bandits and criminals out here in these woods. People are desperate and their minds and souls are darkened.
Question for them. Perhaps this will shed some light on things. Kellogg will find the leader who is speaking for them, Lachlan, and ask him if he fears the light and what it might bring. If he's been taught to fear this, or led to fear this by something.
Listen, no, I think that, actually, do you mention the idea of, like, going and talking to her and seeing if she's willing to accept the service of 2 crusaders?
I'll tell the guy, that's why we came here. We don't want to be laboring under some sort of misimpression, but we thought we were coming out to help someone else, because Zelkor's Ferry's a safe haven, and there aren't many others. And
you came
found out about another one.
You came from Zelkor's Ferry?
That's right.
I've heard that is a port, that ferries and boats can leave this place and head west, away from the Forest of Hope.
What you might not have heard is that not 2 weeks back, pressgangers came chasing what they called a deserter. They killed my cousin. And we drove him off to the man. Now it's a little more than just a place where you go for a ferry. It's a safe haven. And a strong one at that.
That sounds wonderful. Well, I would say that you ought to speak with Anne. And if you don't like her terms, I'll tell you this. I'm confident that she'll let you turn around and leave, so long as you don't cause trouble.
Fine.
Any of you men know how to hunt? Or trap? Or fish?
We could do that. During the attack, a lot of what we had stored up was destroyed and spoiled. That's why we had moved, but with enough people, maybe, and with some supplies to exist on, we could try trapping and hunting, although there are gangs throughout these forests. Sometimes these forests are overhunted. And then, of course, sometimes the forest hunts you.
Let's hunt. Let's get a deer. Let's get a deer or two.
All right. Now you all are. This is now. First of all, actually, what do you do with these people? Do you send them on their way, or do you keep them with you? They're willing to return to the fort, assuming that you can solve their food problem.
I say we try hunting. What does everybody else say?
We're not out of food yet. I think we try to make for the wood fort as soon as we can, would be my guess. But I'm assuming that their food problem is in no small part a security problem. If it's a security problem, we can help. If it's some other kind of problem, I don't want to get us in over our heads.
If we snag a couple deer now, we're gonna have excess meat.
Okay.
It's gonna help, right?
Yeah. All right. I think what I'm gonna do for that is just make it a simple check. So Father Bloombat, if you make another wisdom saving throw to be able to find animals nearby, and then
I mean, can Krogon and I work together on this? I mean, that's his specialty, right?
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of people, so yeah, I'll say Krogon can make a check, and then I'm also going to just see in that amount of time. Wow, okay. Let's see what happens in that
time. Which stat should I use, strength or dex?
Oh my gosh.
Sure.
Krogon, you can roll a d6.
I won.
Oh no.
Gosh.
You do find deer. But you find them hung up in a tree bound in webs. And you can have brought anybody with you for this that you want. But there is a the carcasses have been torn out and started to decay. And then you feel the entire forest shift around you. What you thought were trees and bushes turn out to be masses of dozens upon dozens of nearly man-sized spiders.
Holy shit.
This is why it's hard to hunt here.
Well, I guess that's up. That's it. And can we run?
Yeah, you can run. Is that the plan for you all? And who is with you?
I was with him. I mean,
all right.
Just the folks with horses, I would hope.
Okay, you have horses. Okay, then that solves that problem. The horse is going to run faster. If you're using the horses to try to do this, you make for a clearing. You dart back out into the clearing away from the forests, and then the entire forest just is teeming. Like if you have like an anthill and you smack it and they just pour out. Like that's what you see, like these man-sized spiders just like pour out into the tree line and then recede back into it, infested. And that being said, Krogon did succeed, so I'll say that you were able to procure a deer that was twitching and captured in this web. Krogon, you were able to throw it across your horse and make out with it, make away with it.
I got one.
Hero, as always.
You'll need to dress and prepare this meat within a day. I would say you can either take it to the wood fort or you can try to set up a camp here outside.
I can think of no better peace offering to bring to the wood fort myself.
yeah,
Okay.
I concur.
It is now late morning. And let's see, I will... you do have some guides as well. And I think... Kellic, you can make a wisdom saving throw.
I don't know if you want me doing that. This might not go so hot.
All right. Yeah, you don't see anything, but so you cross this riverbank. You're out in this open area. You went out hunting into the tree line. The trees there are infested with spiders. And let me... you can see from where you are that there's I'll just move it slightly here. You can see that there's a hill down here. This is kind of like a collection of hills, actually. And then there's like a couple of craggy hills there, and then there's some forest just on the other side of it. These open plains stretch off down ahead of you, and then there's that spider-infested forest on the other side. If you do you follow these? I assume that you let them lead the way. I mean, you know, since they just came from
Scouts,
the fort.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they lead you here. I'm gonna make one more check. It takes you about an hour or so, and you wind your way up in between hills until there's this kind of like a natural saddle with a ridgeline, and they've formed makeshift palisades and spikes around the edge of that, and so they have this lookout that goes just up above that, and then there's a makeshift wooden wall with spikes, and you see masked hooded figures with spears manning the walls that say, "Who goes there?"
Oh, we're gonna fly a flag of surrender, or parley, a white flag, and
Parley.
yeah.
Wait, what?
And I mean, that's what it is. We're not trying to fight. The white flag, they can.
Lachlan,
It's both.
I see you there in that group. Did you discover that the forests are just as bad as we said? And Lachlan is like, he says, Anku, look, I found this group of people here, and they've got weapons and armor and horses and mules and food, and they claim they can help with our problems. And to this, he says, this person, he says, the hooded person, he says, "All right, listen, we'll let you in here, but whoever speaks for this group has to come alone. No weapons. If we decide that you're safe, you can disarm yourselves. We'll go from there. We'll see from there."
All right, look, group huddle. I have a really low charisma, so it probably shouldn't be me. I think I have the lowest charisma, right? You all have like 14 or something?
Yeah.
I've got
Does
14.
Regarius want to go?
This is just a background image. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, I can go.
Krogan.
Godspeed. Stay with the men.
All right, yeah, Rogarius, yeah, he hasn't had a chance to do stuff. Sure, okay, well, cool. But they're asking you to disarm. Do you agree to those terms?
Yeah, I'll disarm, but I'll try to keep like a dagger hidden in my boot.
All right, I'm gonna
You don't
make
have
a
to do
check
that,
and
man.
see.
Don't do it.
They don't find the dagger. You keep a dagger in your boot. All right, they bring you into the fort. You can kind of see now why you've maybe encountered some of these people. It is very sparsely populated at this point. There are people in dark hoods and masks their faces are covered. They have cloaks, but they wear armor over top of them. And you can even see that they've improvised things to have as like gloves, which that you can see over their hands holding the spears and weapons where they're manning the walls. You can hear coughing from the inside. Every once in a while, the stray sound of the few remaining chickens. And it also is a shanty. There's a improvised, it's kind of muddy, and it's even kind of like on a hill. And they've elevated these shanty like shacks that they've built all around this place. And then they've built some tinting out of hides and stuff. They have one big central thing of tinting that they've put up towards the top of the hill where there's a watchtower that they've built. And several of these hooded figures lead you, Regarius, up to this large tent. I can't remember what it's called. What are those things called when you have... Women still use these things. They're like a... it's like a thing that you would put in a room to create a fake wall in a room to dress behind. I can't remember what those are called.
Yeah, it's a French word. Yeah, I know what you're talking
But
about.
Screen.
Like this. Yeah.
It's just a dressing screen.
Yeah, well, like if you have just like a little one-room thing, then people maybe would just put one of those up if they wanted to have like something on the other side of the bed.
Some type of temporary partition, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Decoupage. That's the word.
Decoupage. And
Was
so,
French. Good call.
made out of hide, a few of these have been erected, and there's a voice on the other side of one of these, and it goes, "Who are you, and why have you come here?"
We come to investigate the troubles in this area.
Religious do-gooders, then.
Not all of us.
Ah, and some that want money. There are plenty of your kind that have died in the Forest of Hope over the past years.
Some want money. Some are here to pursue their religious inclinations. Others just want to do a good thing.
There's a long pause. She says then, "I've seen your kind come and go through these places a dozen times now. They've all perished in the Forest of Hope. I've also seen a lot of your kind come through here and claim to stand for some kind of religion or cause, and you've stripped bare the people who are just trying to survive. But my people are desperate, and we need help. And you're not wrong. You have horses and mules and food. I'll make a deal.
Yes.
I have a fort. You have food, but not a lot. Work for me. Gain our trust. This place can be a home to you.
Work for you doing what?
First of all, we need to find food or we won't make it through the winter. I have some ideas of how we could do that. But I won't lie, it'll be dangerous. There's nothing here in this forest that's not.
So you want us to help you get food?
Yes. And
so what's your plan?
Once we have food, we need people. Most of my people I allowed to leave. I don't blame them. But we need people to survive. Food and people. And then there's a last thing. Help us overcome our enemies, so that we can survive the winter.
Who are your enemies?
We're surrounded by enemies. Giant monsters. People that have changed. You hear like a chuckle. I'm sure you've seen how people change here, in this forest.
I've only been here a couple weeks.
Then you'll see if you live long enough. Those are our terms. Give us your food, set aside your weapons whenever you're in the fort, and work for us when you leave the fort. Gain our trust, and this place can be your home.
Trust is a two-way street.
It is. We can provide you a place to stay. And of course, the food that you have, you can ration for your own purposes. Now, you could, of course, return to the forest and try your luck there.
We've been doing fine in the forest.
Very well.
Let me return to my companions and see what they think.
If you do that, you'll want to know our rules here. First,
Okay.
you can enter no tent of any of my lieutenants, and you cannot enter this tent without one of my lieutenants. If you ever enter into one of these tents at the top of the hill, the penalty is death. Second, anyone who steals inside of this fort, the penalty is death. Anyone who tries to harm another inside of this fort, the penalty is death. You may never keep anyone from coming or going. If someone wants to leave this fort, they always can. And lastly, you cannot openly worship what they call the light here.
Why are you behind that screen?
That's not for you to know.
If I join up with you, do I get a screen?
It's funny you should ask. You might find that you want that in time, joke though you might right now. Whether you decide to go or stay.
I've got the film The Golden Child stuck in my head right now. What's your plan for getting food?
We need manpower. And then we need to organize hunts and trapping, and we need to regrow our fields. Harvest our fall produce, roots, tubers, potatoes. We need to grow what we can and get it started now. But to do that, we need people and weapons.
Potatoes. We're not much potato farmers here. Have you encountered the wolf lady?
You mean Drusilla?
Sure.
Earn our trust. I'll tell you more.
Are you allies with her? Can you at least tell me that?
I don't think anyone is an ally of Drusilla. At least not anyone who's mortal.
Okay. Alright, I will go share this with my companions, and I will get back to you.
So be it. They escort you back to the entrance to the fort.
Okay. I go back to you guys, and I tell you everything they said, and I explain about the screen and how this person's a bit shy. Don't go into any of the tents, they'll kill you. You can't keep anybody from coming and going. They want us to do, in addition to hunting animals, manual labor, planting potatoes. I don't know.
Perhaps they're monsters or undead. We don't want you to look upon them. Hide from the light.
Do you have?
They want a bunch of our food.
Do you have detect evil? Let me see if I have it. I'm that cleric.
Krogan does not want to give up his sword.
I mean, were the other people that you saw in there wearing weapons or no?
Do they have weapons like the lieutenants or?
Yeah, they're armed. And in fact, they are on their last leg. They're like a fighting force without supplies and logistics. So, they're not going to last much longer.
Sorry.
I mean, I feel like we could just come back in the spring and they'll all be dead or gone.
Yeah, I'm not giving up weapons, and we're at their mercy.
Wait, why don't we offer to lead a hunt? with them and go out and try to push some deer out of their habitat into the open where we can get at them with arrows and such.
So these guys all seem to trust them for whatever reason. Which...
Euelis also offers... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead, Martin.
Oh, go ahead.
Euelis offers, he says, my brothers, I can call onto the presence of the light to illumine this area. We're not breaking their rules here. Perhaps if there was some provision. I don't know why they don't trust my kind right now, but I believe that all can be redeemed. Maybe there's some way that we can hold our prayers outside their gates or something. But nonetheless, I can call on the illumination of the light right now, and I can see if there's something here, as you said, Father Bloombad, chaos itself.
Yes.
I can, out of character, I can detect evil. I can cast detect evil.
Let the mother open your eye.
Do you all want me to do that?
Yeah. And if we're doing a
distance,
I was wondering, how do you guys feel about giving up your weapons? Krogon won't give up his sword.
Let's see if there's evil in your fruit.
Yeah, it depends on some stuff. I could see situations where I'd be okay with it, and situations where I think it'd be crazy.
For what it's worth, and because I might be portraying it poorly, okay, so I don't know if this adds or takes away, but it's sort of like a Wild West town, where it's like, hey, don't come in here with a bunch of weapons, like, they don't let people just walk around with weapons on the inside of the fort. But if you're allowed to come and go at your will, and you can have your weapons back at any time. That's the idea, like you don't just walk around with weapons inside the fort. But
we do a detect evil, and then we build trust, and we provide food, and then we're allowed to carry our weapons. Right?
Now that being said, maybe that still isn't in line in kind of character for Krogon, but okay, detect evil. Okay, so let's see. I don't usually read it, but I think this is interesting. It's very specific. Evil. So here's what you get out of this. Up until basically, so he goes up to the fort, and then he's like, "You there? What are you doing?" And he's like, "I mean, no, I don't have any ill will. Please." He puts his hand against the fort. This goes all the way up to the end of the fort, I'll say, and it detects any evil enchantments, evil intentions, evil thoughts, evil auras. It does not detect dangerous things that are not inherently evil. There is and this, it says it's left up to me, which I love about this game. I will also say it detects things that are inherently of chaos. That is, dragons, undead, demons, those things that are specifically of the underworld. And so he does that. Oh, sorry, go ahead. What?
Sorry, Krogon's like, why are you looking at me?
Oh. And then like you see once again kind of the sun, like a cloud pass, and this beam of light, and this just a ray of sunshine, and Euelis turns around, he says, "My brothers, I assure you, there is no evil intention in this place, and there are no beings of chaos here."
That may be true, but I still get a pretty creepy vibe from these people.
Certainly.
Something I think is affecting them.
Something is different, yes. I think you're right, Brother Regarius.
Surprisingly, Krogon has a trust for holy men where he fears them. He's more closer to the mark.
Alright, so
he defers to the priest. No evil then?
They're not evil today. But that can always change, my brother. I say that we trust them and lead them back to the truth and help them. It's what we came on this journey to do.
It's my vote as well.
Well, the tricky thing here is that this could be a sort of a long-term... what's our exit strategy? How long do you guys vaguely think you might be willing to stay. Are you planning on dropping things off, doing some good, and then heading back to Zelkor's Ferry?
I mean,
Or are we just going to play it by ear?
We could get information here, like that. Like let's go do some hunts. Get them some food, and maybe they'll reveal some information to us.
To put it in gamifying terms as well, and again to point back to my setting document and the game conventions as far as like how the game works. If these people become your friends and they trust you, you have a new sanctuary and you can start any session there. If you have a sanctuary, you pick it.
That's
huge. That's huge.
Okay, sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah.
It took us a
on
week.
the other hand, if they, if they hate you or there's a conflict or it comes under attack and it's not safe or blah 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 blah, obviously it's a game we can win and lose, but
let's fortify this place.
Okay. Well. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. What did you say, Darren?
I'd say let's do it.
Okay. All right. Well, and actually, with that, we'll call that.